On this edition of The American Veteran, Kicking the Habit.
The addiction is right up there with cocaine. I can tell you it's true.
Plus, cruising for a cause.
I can sit here and say that I just biked across America.
And a look at war, one photo at a time.
The image that people think of as the perfect moment of the end of a conflict.
It was just one devil of a good picture.
Those stories and more on this edition of The American Veteran. Welcome to The American Veteran. I'm Jonathan Kopanger, a Navy veteran serving from 1987 to 1996. We're here at the Defense Media Activity Studio in Fort Meade, Maryland. And we start with a statistic that you may find astonishing. The adverse health effects from cigarette smoking account for nearly 1 in every 5 deaths each year in the United States. If you're a veteran or you have a family member who uses tobacco, VA wants you to know that it's never too late to quit.
When a respiratory problem landed him in the hospital on Christmas Day, Vernon Bird decided, after 65 years, to give up smoking.
You can't eat that.
Want to watch me?
Just got to be a habit, a real bad habit. And I've quit for a short time, different times, but this time I'm going to make it.
Thank you for coming and welcome to session number 3, Getting Ready to Quit.
To help him stay on course, Vernon attends a weekly tobacco cessation clinic at the VA Medical Center in Walla Walla, Washington. Pat Smart, a nurse practitioner skilled at helping veterans quit smoking, hosts the session.
What was really important to him was being with other veterans, hearing what they had to say, where they were at one point, and how they felt that they couldn't quit. But then they built up strategies and went through processes to be able to quit.
One of them, Army veteran Tracy Dirks, overcame chemical dependency and alcohol abuse, but found it far more difficult to quit tobacco.
When he came into this class, he really felt that there was no way he could overcome nicotine. He just said, I can't do it.
The addiction is right up there with cocaine. And coming from somebody who's done both, I can tell you it's true. It's true.
Pat Smart says medical research confirms that fact, but that the physical addiction of smoking is still widely underappreciated.
With tobacco, there's a 3-link chain of addiction. You have the social, you have the psychological, and you have the physiological. When you smoke, you inhale the smoke goes into the lungs, and within 5 to 7 seconds, it goes to the brain and affects 8 neurotransmitters.
Those are chemicals in the brain, like dopamine, that can relay messages to the body, signaling pleasure or relaxation. But once the cigarette is finished, the same chemical reaction that elevated a smoker's mood now sends it crashing back down again.
So it's jacking them up, jacking them down, and that's a very unhealthful thing for you. It actually makes anxiety worse, it makes pain worse.
Information like that, which is new to many of these vets, turns out to have a powerful motivating effect.
It's a 7-week course, and I went through it over twice before I finally just determined that I had all my ducks in a row and I had my arsenal full of all the little tricks to help me. And I just decided it was time.
Tracy has been off his smokes for more than a year now, but he continues to attend the clinic, sharing what he's learned with the other veterans.
Basically, I learned just don't give up. It's easy to give up, very easy to do. It's a matter of just getting yourself ready and using your little arsenal that you gain through these classes.
We'll have other veterans say, you know, it's really important for me to hear that because I'm at the same place. And it really encourages them, and that support just keeps them going. And we've had a lot of people be successful because of Tracy's impact on them. Happy to have you too.
Take Vernon, for example. He had a short stress-related relapse when his wife, Janet, fell ill. But thanks to what he's learned here, he's able to quickly get back on track.
And rather than letting that negative critic say, see, I told you you couldn't do it, you're no good, he thought about why he did it, built a plan not to do it again, and let that relapse become a strength rather than a weakness, and he's been smoke-free since.
Vern and Janet attend the class together. Although she's not a smoker, she finds what happens here to be both instructive and inspiring.
I think Pat does a tremendous job. The classes are so interesting, and I'm even finding that you can take the teaching from that and apply it in different areas of your life, so I'm benefiting from it. Isn't that good? That is so good.
As for those here who have learned or are learning how to control their addiction,
It frees up my whole life. I don't have that interfering. I don't have to worry about where or where not I can smoke. You have more money left in your pocket at the end of the day, and you just feel better.
I've got grandkids and great-grandkids, both. And I kind of want to see them all grow up. Plus, I don't want to be a bad influence on them when they're around me.
For tips on how to quit, visit the website you see on your screen or call your VA Medical Center to connect with a VA-trained specialist. With veteran employment being a priority, VA Secretary Shinseki is strengthening veteran employment initiatives in the private sector. He also spoke to veterans about the outlook at the Small Business Conference in St. Louis. The mission for the Veteran-Owned Small Business Conference?
Help you succeed in business by providing you access, by creating a dynamic learning laboratory, and by enabling you to network with key decision makers.
Mission accomplished. Attendees received information, tools, and techniques on how to start, build, and expand a small business idea into a life-changing reality. They also connected with hundreds of procurement decision makers from the VA and other federal agencies, as well as large firms committed to buying goods and services from veteran-owned small businesses or looking for subcontractors. Secretary Shinseki highlighted that veterans can rebuild the middle class.
We're vitally interested in helping you compete for business in general and for federal contracts in particular. Because as you grow your businesses, you become a catalyst for creating jobs, enabling other veterans to support their families, buy homes, and invest in the future of this country.
Veteran-owned small businesses currently employ almost 2 million workers and generate $1.8 trillion in revenue. But VA would like to increase those numbers.
In 2007, only 10% of VA's procurement dollars went to veteran-owned small businesses. By 2012, that figure had more than doubled to 21.8%. We're now beginning our discussions with the Small Business Administration, establishing our 2014 goals. And I just tell you, we intend to keep VA at the forefront in veteran contracting.
According to VA, over 25% of previous attendees reported they won a contract award that they directly attributed to attending this conference. To learn more about the conference, go to va.gov. Air Force veteran Kiersten Downs cruises coast to coast on her bicycle to raise money and awareness for student veterans of America. Kiersten trekked 3,800 miles from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., bringing in over $50,000.
My name is Kiersten Downs. Life is an adventure. Don't be afraid to take the road less traveled. You never know what you're gonna find. I served in the U.S. Air Force for a total of 7 years. I did serve overseas on 3 different tours, and I served 1 tour in Iraq from 2006 to 2007. I am a member of Student Veterans of America. I also serve on their National Student Council. This is a pretty fast bike. Do you have my pump? My cross-country bike ride is helping Student Veterans of America because I'm raising awareness and I'm also raising funding for the organization.
We can go into the park, down to the coast, and then come in. It's relatively flat. It's about a 2 to 3% grade.
And the way that I'm trying to do that is to reach out to other student veterans on campuses across the U.S. saying, hey, look at us. Student Veterans of America is a national coalition of about 850 peer-run student veterans associations across the United States. We provide the resources, support, and advocacy needed for student veterans to succeed in higher education and also after they graduate and move on to gainful employment. I think that a lot of people leave the service not really knowing what they're entitled to. What Student Veterans of America does is, we come in and we say, hey, here's a place where you can go to find out what is available to you when it comes to education benefits. And if you're having problems, you can also come to us and we will help you find solutions to those issues that you might be having. I was a little bit older than a lot of the kids in school. I felt isolated at times. I didn't know any other student veterans on campus. I never wanted to ask for help, but I realized how important it is to ask for help. And through Student Veterans of America, there's your system of support. Those are the people that's going to help you graduate. When the locals say that it's hilly, they mean that it is hilly. The reason that I am doing this, aside from my passion for biking and the goal of me riding from coast to coast, is to really reach students all across the country who may not know that there are peer-run organizations at their university. Hop on a bike. It's the absolute greatest feeling in the entire world. The social support and the social change that can be produced from this unified group of student veterans is instrumental towards changing the campus environment to something that is absolutely veteran friendly. We got here and we got here safe, and I can sit here and say that I just biked across America.
For more information on SVA or to support their mission, visit studentveterans.org. Starting at the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, a new exhibit of some of the most iconic images in the history of photography are now on a nationwide tour. War photography, images of armed conflict and its aftermath, will take you from the home front to the battlefield and back again. We caught up with the exhibit at Washington, D.C.'s Corcoran Gallery of Art.
Beyond doubt, this is the single most familiar image of American victory in World War II.
It was just one devil of a good picture, and he shot it in the breadth of a second, and you can see in the energy and the exertion of putting the pole up, the strength that was needed to do it.
Norman Hatch should know as well as anyone. He didn't shoot the famous photograph, but he was there to witness the event and served as a combat photographer himself from the earliest days of the war until its conclusion.
Once you get that camera up and you start shooting, you're in a different world. Very rarely did I ever get down on the ground flat and shoot. I did once or twice just to get the angle. Let's say 95% of it was standing up and shooting. I wasn't scared. I didn't have a fear factor working, which if I did, I think would have stopped me from doing what I was doing.
Now, the work of war photographers like Norman Hatch has been organized into an exhibit, currently on display at the prestigious Corcoran Museum in Washington, D.C.
The Corcoran couldn't be a more perfect location to see an exhibition like this. We're not far from the war memorials, the World War II memorial, the Vietnam memorial. And so we are geographically perfectly placed to consider the history of American involvement in war.
The show examines 165 years of war photography from conflicts around the world. Rather than follow a strict chronological course, it displays photos clustered in thematic areas, such as the fight, which covers actual combat, but also children, grief, faith, and aftermath.
The organizers of the show decided to show war as something that doesn't really have clear beginnings and clear ends. The memory of war endures after the conflict ends. And I think that the organizers of the show felt that it would really do a disservice to the experience of war that people have had if they were to focus only on the fighting.
Among the unforgettable images of war's aftermath is this shot, titled Burst of Joy. Shot in 1973 by press photographer Sal Vader, it captures the precise moment when Air Force officer Robert Sturm reunites with his family after 5 years of captivity in Vietnam. For many Americans, Burst of Joy signified that the long war was finally coming to an end.
And the image gives an idea to the viewer. It makes one think that, that this perfect moment lasts forever, just as the photograph lasts forever.
So too with the image known as Old Glory Goes Up on Mount Suribachi, which emblemized the conquest of the Japanese island of Iwo Jima. Taken in February 1945 by a press photographer, it became a symbol to the nation of impending victory. But there's more to the story.
The image that people think of as the perfect moment of the end of a conflict, when triumph is realized and heroic soldiers raise the American flag, signaling the end of a battle, in fact came fairly early in a conflict that would stretch on for another month.
What's more, says Norman Hatch, who was there, photo editors cropped the original image to produce the smaller but far more evocative image that we know today.
And that is what hit the States. And on a Sunday, it was a hit in about every newspaper in the country of any value. And so it raised the spirits of the people, mainly because it was the flag and the fact that they were up on the top of that mountain. And so you can't beat a thing like that.
Not even, it seems, with motion pictures, which Norman produced throughout the war. His body of work includes one of the first and most famous war documentaries ever produced. With the Marines at Tarawa, a real-life account of America's first major amphibious battle in the Pacific, won an Oscar from the motion picture industry in 1944. But that's far from being its most important distinction.
The public was not aware of what war was like until my film. There were bodies floating in the water, up and back and forth, as you know.
The film's content was considered so sensitive that President Roosevelt himself was called upon to approve its release. Unlike Norman's films, the photos here at the Corcoran tell stories in a frozen moment. Taken together, they communicate a powerful impression of the experience of war that remains with visitors.
A still photograph captures the instant. It puts us into a particular place and a particular moment in a way that the moving image cannot. It essentially distills an event for us to remember.
War photography includes the work of military photographers, photojournalists, artists, amateurs, and others. If you would like to see more of war photography, images of armed conflict and its aftermath, go to corcoran.org/warphoto. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The true measure of a man is not how he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but how he stands in times of controversy and challenges." Our next story is about a man who still stands tall after adversity.
The day I landed in Vietnam, I knew that this was going to be a tough thing. It was always scary. I mean, I never, at one moment of that time in Vietnam, ever felt like I wasn't afraid. June 29th, we had our whole company working together. We set up an LZ, a landing zone for the helicopter to come in. And because we were out in the field for 30 days at a time, they would have to bring in supplies, ammunition. I had sent a couple of the guys up after the helicopter, and they were all 20 feet away from me, and I thought, well, I better run up there too. I need to ask a couple of questions on what we're going to do tomorrow. I turned around, I took a couple of steps when somebody further up tripped a bouncing Betty landmine. It was so strong that it killed 4 guys and wounded 12, and I was one of them. They carried me into the tent, into the hospital tent there, and I went inside there and I went unconscious. I woke up in Yokohama, Japan, and looked at the end of the bed, and what you see is what happened to me. When I woke up in Japan, I got better really quick, and my brother's wife had a friend that was in the military, a very high-ranking officer, and they came out and picked me up and drove all over Japan. I remember driving all over Japan, in fact, and again, my legs were still open with bandages on them. I just felt like, heck, this is great. I'm out doing things. So I never felt like in my life I ever slowed down a whole lot. It just kept going. After I lost my legs, I just wanted, this sounds so corny, I want people to know that I am just like anybody else. I can do whatever I want to do and whatever I set my mind to. Give me I think I have this, like, I'm gonna do it. Don't help me. There's not a lot to do when you're a bilateral above amputee. I mean, you can do weights and things like that, and you go to the gym. But what happened was there was a group of guys, and I'd heard about wheelchair basketball. When I came home from my first basketball practice, my hands were completely covered with blisters. But man, when you can't even close your hands or open your hands, and then I go back to another practice, I've got tape all over my hands, and it was just incredible. It was so much fun. How I segued into the road racing and the way that fit was that road racing started becoming really, really popular in the mid-70s. And I thought, well, wow, this is great, you know. So I got involved with that, and it took over. I'd go out and I'd do 20-mile rides, I'd do 15-mile rides on my racing chair, and I worked and worked and worked. I've probably done 100 marathons in my life, and what an opportunity to meet great runners, stand-up people, other wheelchair athletes, traveled all over the world, traveled to Europe, to Asia, and just would never thought that would ever happen in my life. Yeah, this is where I started everything, right here. I had a whole bunch of ideas and wanted to come up with different products to make so a person with disabilities could really do things. When I started Magic in Motion, which is the name of the company, we wanted to take it to do every single product we could possibly do. And the wheelchairs back then weighed about 55 pounds. And a friend of mine and myself came up with this little baby. Now, obviously, all the wheels are gone on it, but what you see is a lightweight aluminum frame. That dropped the weight of that wheelchair from 55 to 24 pounds. I actually won the Boston Marathon in that frame. And then we went to this frame. Look at the difference. This is the evolution of that wheelchair. That wheelchair went from a little square box aluminum frame with a whole bunch of rules to a frame that the total weight with the wheels and everything is 15 pounds. The monoski was developed by myself and Jamie McCormick here in Washington State. We wanted it to be able to be so you could be self-sufficient. You get on the chairlift, get off the chairlift, you could ski by yourself, you could do everything by yourself. You know, really that's what it's all about, is being able to get back out there and do whatever I did before and just maybe do it a little bit differently. Man, I tell you, you can't even imagine how great it is for somebody that hasn't not been able to ski for 20 years and now being able to go back up there and do it. And I never look back. I think that sports is a huge factor in speeding up the recovery of a person with disability. You have to, some way, get your brain away from what I used to have to what I have now. I'm not sure what my life would have been like had I not lost my legs. I absolutely know I wouldn't have traveled all over the world, but I can't imagine ever doing the things I've done. The opportunities have been huge, incredible. The VA is so far ahead of everybody else, it's scary. More hand cycles, more wheelchairs, bikes, basketball chairs. Try everything. Try it, try it, try it. I guarantee you'll like it.
Tom retired a few years ago and now spends his time improving his golf game, skiing, and playing with the grandchildren. If you are disabled and would like to know more about how you can participate in sports, go to va.gov/adaptive sports. That concludes this edition of The American Veteran. The Department of Veterans Affairs is honored to bring you this program. If you'd like to get in touch with us or obtain information about VA benefits and services, call us at 1-800-827-1000 or visit our website, va.gov. And if you're a veteran who's troubled in some way, please call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255.